All right. So you reached out because you wanted to know more about orders of protection,
Yeah.
especially in Illinois.
Yeah.
I get it,
Yeah.
especially since you're also going through a divorce.
Yeah.
We totally get that legal stuff can be really confusing sometimes.
For sure.
So to help you out, we've gathered all sorts of info,
Okay.
legal documents, articles, even some recent case studies to give you the rundown on how these orders of protection actually work.
It can be a little overwhelming,
Yeah, it can be.
but hopefully we can break it down and make it easy to understand for you.
Exactly. Our goal is to really simplify it
Yeah.
so you can feel more confident about what's going on and what to expect.
And remember, the more you know about these orders of protection, the better you'll feel about this whole situation, more empowered.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, as they say.
Right.
Okay, so let's dive right in. First things first.
Okay.
What exactly is an order of protection?
Sure.
I know it's a legal thing, obviously,
Uh-huh.
but what does it actually do?
An order of protection is basically like a legal shield.
Okay.
It's a court order that tells someone, hey, you need to stop doing these things,
Uh-huh.
like abusing, harassing, threatening someone, and to stay away.
So like a legal cease and desist, but for personal safety?
Yeah, you could think of it that way. And it's not just physical abuse either.
Right, right.
It covers a lot more than that.
Gotcha. And just to be clear,
Yeah,
this is different from a financial restraining order, right?
exactly.
Those are more about protecting money and assets.
Yeah, a financial restraining order is all about your bank account, your assets.
Okay.
An order of protection is about keeping you safe,
Makes sense.
physically, emotionally safe.
And to get one of these, you don't have to be married, right?
You don't have to be married. No.
Okay.
They apply to all kinds of relationships.
So it's not just for married couples going through a divorce.
Nope, not at all.
Good to know. So who else can get this protection then?
So unmarried couples, for instance, people who maybe have a child together, even family members sometimes.
So it really covers a lot of different situations.
Definitely.
Now, I was reading that there are different types of orders of protection in Illinois.
Yeah,
Is that right?
that's right.
Like different levels of protection.
Yeah, you could think of it that way.
Oh,
You've got your emergency, your interim, and then your plenary orders.
emergency, interim, plenary.
Yeah,
Can you give me a real-life example of how these might work?
absolutely. So let's say someone is being threatened
Okay.
right now.
Right now, they need protection, like immediately.
They can go to court,
Uh-huh.
request an emergency order, and the judge can issue it that same day.
Wow, same day.
Same day, even if the other person isn't there.
That's fast.
It's designed to offer protection immediately.
Okay.
So it lasts about 2-3 weeks.
So it's like a temporary shield until things get sorted out further.
Exactly.
But what happens after those few weeks?
Well,
Does the protection just go away?
not necessarily. That's where those interim orders come in.
Oh, okay.
So imagine someone's filed for a plenary order.
Mhm.
That's the long-term one.
Right, right.
But the actual court date is, a few weeks out.
Okay.
That interim order gives them protection while they wait.
Ah, so it bridges the gap between the emergency order and the full hearing.
That's it. Exactly.
So emergency is for immediate danger, interim bridges the gap, and then plenary is the long-term solution.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes the different levels a lot clearer.
Good, good.
Now, you mentioned abuse a few times.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean in this context?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Because I think a lot of people have a limited view of what qualifies.
They do. They do.
They think it's just physical violence, right?
Uh-huh.
But it's actually a lot broader.
It's a lot broader.
So what else counts?
So, yeah, you've got your physical violence.
Right.
But it also includes things like harassment,
Okay.
intimidation, threats, even interference with your personal freedom.
Interference with your personal freedom. Can you give an example of what that means?
Sure. So think about someone who's constantly tracking your every move,
Okay.
or preventing you from leaving the house,
Yeah.
or maybe controlling all your money, or access to phones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's basically anything that makes you feel unsafe,
Right.
creates a real danger for you.
Okay, so there has to be a genuine risk to your safety. It's not just like someone being annoying.
Right, exactly. It needs to be serious.
And this applies to children too, right?
It does.
And pets.
Children, pets, it's not just about you.
Okay.
It's about everyone you care for.
Makes sense.
So if someone is threatening your kids or hurting your pets,
Uh-huh.
that absolutely qualifies.
Wow. So it's a really broad scope of protection then.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so let's say someone IS in a situation where they need this protection. What's the first step? How do they actually file for an order of protection?
First thing, you got to gather evidence.
Get evidence.
Think of yourself like a detective, right?
Got it.
You need to build a strong case, document everything.
So what kind of evidence is the most important?
Think about what you could show a judge, like as actual proof.
Oh, yeah.
Text messages,
Yeah.
emails, voicemails. Those are gold.
Right.
If there's been any physical abuse, pictures of the injuries are super important.
Makes sense.
And police reports, too, if you've ever had to call the police.
Yeah.
Make sure you have copies of those.
So it's not just about remembering what happened. It's about having proof.
Exactly. You need that concrete proof.
Proof.
Yeah.
And once you have that evidence, then what?
Then you can file a petition with the court.
A petition.
It's basically a formal document that says, hey, I need protection, and here's why.
Okay, and how detailed does this petition need to be?
The more specific, the better.
Specifics.
Specifics.
Don't just say, like, they were mean to me.
Right.
You need to give clear examples.
Okay.
Dates, times, what they did. Paint a clear picture for the judge. So, like, on this date, they sent me this threatening text message, and then on this other date, they showed up at my work uninvited.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so the clearer the better.
The clearer the better. And then the process will be a little different depending on if you need an emergency order or a plenary order.
Right.
Those are handled a bit differently.
Okay, so let's talk about the emergency situation first. How does that work?
So, if you're in immediate danger,
Mm-hmm.
you'd go straight to court and ask for that emergency order.
Okay.
You'll probably have to talk to the judge,
Mm-hmm.
explain what's happening, show your evidence in your petition.
Right.
The judge will decide, based on all that, if they'll give you the emergency order.
So you don't always need the other person present for the judge to make a decision.
Not for the emergency order, no.
Okay.
Because it's about getting you protected quickly.
But for a plenary order.
For a plenary order, the other person does have to be officially told and has a chance to respond.
Okay, so it's a more formal process.
Exactly.
So you gather your evidence, file the petition, go before the judge, and then what?
Yeah.
Let's say the judge grants the order of protection.
Right.
What does that actually do?
Good question.
Like, what kind of power does it give you?
Think of it this way.
Yeah.
It sets legal boundaries.
Boundaries.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the most common things is something called a no-contact order.
A no-contact order.
Uh-huh.
What's that?
Pretty much what it sounds like.
So the abuser can't contact you at all?
Nope. No calls.
Okay.
No texts, emails, social media messages, nothing.
Wow.
Can't even have other people contact you for them.
Gotcha.
It's about keeping you safe, giving you space.
So it's really comprehensive.
Yeah.
It's not just about stopping physical violence. It's about creating a safe space mentally and emotionally, too.
Exactly.
That peace of mind.
Yeah, it can really help with that.
And it goes beyond just no contact, right?
It does, yeah.
There's more to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what about custody arrangements for kids?
Right. An order of protection can cover that, too.
So the court can decide, where the kids live, how visitation works, all to keep them safe.
Exactly. If the court thinks the kids are at risk
Yeah.
because of the abuse,
Mm-hmm.
they might order supervised visits
Okay.
or limit a parent's access.
So a parent might only be able to see their child in the supervised setting.
That's possible, yeah.
Yeah.
Or sometimes even just letters or phone calls.
Wow, that's a big deal.
It can be, yeah.
It sounds like the court really focuses on the child's safety above everything else.
That's right. The kid's safety comes first.
Okay, so we've got no contact, custody arrangements.
Mm-hmm.
What else can these orders do?
Well, another common thing is exclusive possession of the residence.
Exclusive possession of the residence.
Mhm.
What does that mean exactly?
So that means the abuser has to leave the home,
Oh, okay.
even if their name is on the lease or mortgage.
Wow, so they can't even stay in the house.
Nope.
That's a pretty big protection.
It is.
So it really gives the person who filed for the order that space to feel safe.
That's the idea.
It's not just about being physically safe, right?
Right.
It's about feeling safe.
Absolutely.
In your own home.
Yeah, it can be a huge relief.
Yeah.
Just having that space.
Right, to be able to breathe again.
Yeah,
To
exactly.
heal, recover.
Exactly. It's about preventing future abuse.
Not just punishing for what's already happened.
Right.
It's about moving forward.
It's giving you that chance to
rebuild your life.
Yeah, without being afraid all the time.
That's so important.
It is.
But what happens if, let's say, the abuser just ignores the order?
Wow.
What if they still try to contact you?
Yeah.
Or just violate the terms? What then?
That's when it gets serious.
Yeah.
Violating an order of protection in Illinois?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big deal.
Okay.
There could be some pretty serious consequences.
So it's not just a slap on the wrist.
Oh, no.
Okay.
This is a court order.
Right.
We're talking potential arrests,
Wow.
fines, even jail time. Depends how bad the violation is.
So it's not something to take lightly.
Definitely not.
So if someone violates the order, what should you do? Just call the police?
Yes, absolutely. Call the police right away.
Okay.
And remember,
Yeah.
like we talked about before with the evidence.
Right.
Documentation is key here, too.
So keep track of every violation.
Everything, dates, times,
Mhm.
exactly what happened, any witnesses,
Gotcha.
anything that helps you build your case.
So don't just ignore it and hope it goes away.
No.
Get the police involved, document everything.
Exactly, because the police and the courts, they take this very seriously.
We do.
They know how dangerous it can be.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Now, this question came from someone going through a divorce.
I do, yeah.
So let's talk about that.
Sure.
How does an order of protection affect divorce proceedings?
Well, it definitely can complicate things.
Right.
Divorce is already complex.
Yeah.
But an order of protection adds another layer to it.
Another layer.
Yeah, especially when it comes to custody arrangements.
Custody, that's a big one. How does the court usually handle that?
Well, if the court believes a child's safety is at risk.
Because of abuse, right?
Go. Then they might decide to order supervised visits.
Supervised visits.
Or even limit one parent's access to the child.
So, like, in some cases,
Yeah.
a parent might only be able to see their child in a very controlled environment.
That's right. It depends on the specifics of the case.
Right.
How severe the abuse was.
Okay.
But yeah, sometimes it's just supervised visits. Or maybe even just letters or phone calls.
Wow, so it can be pretty restrictive.
It can be, yeah.
But I guess it's all to protect the child.
Exactly.
The child's safety comes first.
Absolutely.
And in order of protection, does that usually affect things like spousal support?
Not usually, no.
Okay.
But it can definitely have an impact on other financial parts of the divorce.
Like what? What should people be aware of?
Well, the court will consider the order of protection.
Okay.
When they're deciding things like child support,
Right.
who pays what debts. Makes sense.
Like if one spouse had to leave the house because of abuse,
Right.
the court might say, okay, the other spouse needs to help out more financially.
Right, to help them get back on their feet.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
It can affect lawyer fees, too, sometimes.
So it really touches on all aspects of the divorce.
It can, yeah.
It's not just about the abuse itself.
It's about making sure everything is fair
Right.
and safe.
Safe, that's the key.
Yeah.
Which makes it even more important to have a good lawyer.
Oh, absolutely. A good lawyer is essential.
Right.
They can guide you through all this.
Yeah, because it sounds complicated.
It can be, yeah.
Especially with an order of protection involved.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot.
We have.
I think it'd be helpful to go over some key takeaways.
Okay.
Especially for our listener who's probably taking all this in.
Yeah, it could be a lot.
So what are the most important things to remember about orders of protection?
Okay, so first, remember what we talked about earlier. Documentation is critical.
If you're being abused or harassed, write everything down.
Everything.
Dates, times, keep those text messages, emails, pictures, police reports.
Like a detective, gather those clues.
Yes, exactly. And second, if you feel unsafe, don't wait.
Right.
Take action.
Take action.
Get help.
Yeah.
You can get an emergency order for immediate protection or file for a longer-term order.
Right. And you don't have to be married to do this.
Nope, not at all.
A lot of people think that.
Yeah, it's a common misconception.
Yeah. But these orders apply to all sorts of relationships. So don't let that stop you from getting help.
Absolutely. And third, remember what these orders can actually do.
Yeah.
They can prevent contact, set up custody arrangements, even let you stay in your house while the abuser leaves.
Right. Powerful stuff.
It's there to protect you.
And lastly, this is important. Take it seriously.
Yes.
Don't mess around with the order.
No.
Violating it.
Big trouble.
Yeah, big trouble.
Criminal charges, possibly even jail time.
So it's not something to mess with.
Not at all. These are real legal orders.
Real consequences.
Real consequences.
Okay, before we wrap things up,
Yeah.
I like to leave our listeners with something to think about.
I like that.
Something to apply all this info to their own situation.
Okay.
We've talked about the legal stuff, the steps to take.
Right.
But what about the emotional side of things?
Yeah, that's important too.
Because filing for an order of protection, especially during a divorce, it can be emotionally tough.
It can be very tough.
So what advice would you give to someone struggling with that side of things?
Well, first, know that it's completely normal to feel overwhelmed,
Right.
scared, even guilty sometimes.
It's a lot to process.
It is.
Yeah.
But the most important thing to remember is that you are not alone.
I don't know.
There is support out there.
Support.
Yeah, people who understand what you're going through.
Where can someone find that support? What kind of resources are out there?
Oh, there are so many great organizations dedicated to helping people in these situations.
Right.
Hotlines, support groups, counseling services.
Yeah.
Those can all be so helpful.
Yeah. Just having someone to talk to.
Exactly. Someone who gets it.
Who understands.
Yeah.
And just knowing what's available, what your options are.
Right.
That can be really empowering, too.
Oh, for sure.
It's like taking back control,
Absolutely. Yeah, because it can feel so out of control.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're in that situation.
Exactly.
But having that knowledge can really make a difference.
Knowledge is power.
It really is.
And hopefully this deep dive has given you that power.
I hope so, too.
Given you the info you need to feel confident
Yeah.
about what to do next.
To make the best decisions for yourself.
Yeah, for your safety.
Yeah, and your well-being.
We've covered a lot. Different types of orders, how to file, the impact on custody and finances.
Yeah.
But now, thinking about your own situation.
Okay.
What feels like the most important thing to focus on right now?
Well, every situation is different.
Right.
But I always say safety comes first.
Safety first, always.
Always. So if you're feeling threatened right now,
Yeah.
get legal help.
As soon as possible.
As soon as possible.
And remember, document everything.
Everything.
Like we talked about.
Dates, times, evidence.
But it's not all about the legal stuff, right?
Right.
What about emotional support?
Yeah, that's so important too.
Because this is a tough time.
It is, yeah.
Emotionally draining.
Definitely.
So where can someone find that support?
Well, you can talk to friends and family.
Okay.
But there are also amazing organizations dedicated to helping people in these situations.
Like support groups?
Yeah, support groups, hotlines you can call,
Really
counseling services.
Right, so many resources.
There's lots of resources out there.
And sometimes just talking to someone who gets it makes all the difference.
It really can.
Well, you've given our listeners so much to think about.
I hope.
And I really appreciate you taking the time.
My pleasure. It was great to be here.
So where can people find you online if they want to learn more?
You can find me on, on Instagram.
Okay.
And also on my website.
Perfect. We'll link all that in the show notes.
That sounds great.
And listener, remember, you're not alone.
Never alone.
There is help available.
There is.
And we're here for you too.
Always here.
If you have more questions, as you're processing all this, don't hesitate to reach out.
Reach out.
Until next time.
Yeah.
Keep diving deep and stay curious.
Stay curious.